Hello, you wonderful, beautiful people of the internet. This episode's going to be a bit different since my recordings had some audio issues. I've compiled the most important footage from my last recording session, and I'm here to recap. So let's get some lo-fi in the background and start with me tripping the same mines in the same room as before. Yes, intelligence. I continued to explore further into the facility, actually dealing damage with my weapon. I know. Can you believe it? My weapons killed things? I was thinking that I was being big brain by jumping over a tripwire and assuming the robots couldn't get me. Then, they all began escaping their cages. Boone was set on shooting one still in its cage, and I ran for the hills. Everything was in complete chaos. Eventually, though, I did come back to absolutely fucking skewer that last robot without remorse. Oh yeah, don't worry about Boone. He's fine. He's just coolin'. He just do that sometimes. On to more important matters than that. I made it to the top of the tower and was immediately distracted by a floating brain in a sci-fi tank. Because, ew, who wouldn't be? Eventually, though, I repaired a generator and contemplated anxiously where to send the power. In the end, I decided to distribute power to the full region and continue to the top of the tower to bask in my greatness and assert dominance over the Mojave Plateau landscape until I was absolutely fucking blinded. I mean, hey, at least now you know that if nuclear radiation doesn't get you, the solar radiation from this tower now will. I returned to Ignacio Rivas, a follower of the apocalypse, basically a hyped up historian, and he boosted my already overinflated ego and said I was admirable. Why yes, thank you Ignacio, I love you too. The NCR seemed none the wiser when I pulled a sneaky on him with the power, and the followers of the apocalypse like me now. Then I finally sold all of the crap I was towing and bought a unique weapon in Novak. On the road to Boulder City, I found some fire ants. And by fire ants, I mean they literally spit fucking flames. So I decided to massacre them all for the hell of it. Just look at this field of disgusting ant carcasses. And yes, I finally made it to Boulder City, where I spoke to this sad boy about the battle that happened here. To summarize, they all lured the Legion into the city and blew up the whole place. I mean, at least I know why it's called Boulder City. Next, I spoke to this NCR lad who says some great cons had NCR soldiers as hostages inside. Great cons, you say? Does one happen to have a checkered coat and a platinum chip? Because I needed to talk to him about this little hole in my forehead. Although, this NCR lad was ready to assign me to the task. Who wouldn't trust a random lady in a funky spacesuit with your comrades' lives, right? As it turns out, it wasn't the checkered jacket, fancy pants man himself, but it was better. Remember that bug-eyed mohawk man who was on the right? Yeah, so anyways, I talked my way out of this without anyone dying. The cons agreed to let the hostages go, and the NCR would escort them out of the territory. At least I was in the middle of negotiating this when I was ambushed by this strange man Malcolm Holmes. He tried to pretend he was just a passing traveler at first, but it turns out he was just a stalker who cared too much about my bottle caps, so I was glad that misunderstanding was cleared up. He told me that the sunset sarsaparilla caps with the blue stars could be used to find some kind of treasure. I mean, he told me he didn't want them for himself, and just stalked me to deliver this information. Who wouldn't trust a face like that, right? Anyways, back to the subject at hand. The NCR lad wanted to uphold his end of the deal with the cons, except that he had orders to terminate them. But, down with authority or whatever, I told him to do it anyways. In the end, I gained favor with both the cons and the NCR. Afterwards, I was ambushed again, this time by Victor, who says he was just rolling along on his spurs. When I say ambushed, he legit zoomed straight at me over the hills. Needless to say, I still don't trust this robot and his weird twitchy hands. So, continuing down the road, I found this woman named Veronica. She told me she's from a bunker with a big family and asked about the Brotherhood of Steel. She also offered to travel with me since I looked like I could handle myself, or that's what she said. I was disappointed there was still no option to tell her that it's actually Boone who can handle all of the danger for both of us. I tried to speak with Boone before deciding, but I was ambushed another time by an NCR man who said that the NCR's got my back. Thanks, I guess? Boone, to decide between taking Boone or Veronica the rest of the way. This was the moment I decided to let go of Boone. This was the moment I immediately regretted it. Turns out Veronica is actually Brotherhood of Steel. Needless to say, I was ambushed yet again, except this time by lies and deceit. To get back at her, I decided to dress her in more respectable clothing. I also felt it was necessary to include this cool star room. It was inside the Repcon HQ where I was beginning to uncover a 200-year-old plot involving corporate subterfuge. In the end, I tried to sneak into the old vice president's office to try and figure it out without getting caught. But alas, I still suck at video games and I was caught. There we go, all caught up. Expect episodes to go back to normal from here.